and welcome to my channel. So today I'm bringing you a layout using my April Like Forever kit, which heavily contains the paper plan by My Mind's Eye called On Trend 2. So at the start of this layout, all I had in mind was that I wanted to do some sort of grid pattern to use up a few of the different papers that I'd already cut into, as well as maybe a couple that I hadn't. I started off with 3" by 3" squares, but felt due to the busyness of the paper that this wasn't going to look quite right. So I changed it to 4 by 4" squares, and this is what I am messing about with now. So one of them I did leave to be 8" by 4" in the idea of a rectangle, though that will change to a standard 4 by 4 square. So I'm just cutting up a few of the different patterns here that will make it together. At the moment I haven't even chosen my photo. I don't know what it is I'm going to scrap, I just know that this is what I wanted to start off with. So I'm just placing those down now, messing about with the different colours. I knew it would be a layout of one of my girls, and I love that hot pink with the gold dots. It's one of my favourite papers in the kit. So I'm just going to have a look through now. This is how I store photos that I have already printed. It's in an old Creative Memories photo holder with tabs which tells me which child albums it's for going in, as well as the date of the event, so I don't have to look it up every time on my computer. So I'm changing things about here a few times before I do settle on the photo that's currently out, which is of my daughter at a theme park last year where we went with her friend. So I'm going to cut this down to a 4" square. I'm just checking that the picture can cut down without me cutting off anything that I actually want. And I'm going to cut that down to 4", just under 4" by 4". So that is the basic layout design that I'm going to have. I am going to move a couple of little bits around just to give the colour variety. I do like the dots, the green with the gold dots. However, it was too close to the pink dotty paper or too close to the other green paper, which is what made me change my mind. So that is pretty much the design. The only thing I do change is the one up in the top left. I will end up changing that for one of the pre-printed. So what I've just done there is I've just chopped down a little bit more off each square so that I can have a nice white border around. And now I'm getting out my die cut pieces and having a mess about and seeing which ones I want where, what looks good, whether I'm going to decorate all squares or not. So I'm just pulling out a few bits that match up with the colour scheme or that I like the look of, and we'll see how we go from there. There's quite a few die cuts in this pack and they are quite big. So apologies there that the lighting changed. It was starting to get dark here in the UK, so I decided to turn my lights on. I'm not sure whether I should have got away with it for a little bit longer or not. So I'm now going through my other tub, which mainly contains bits that I've added in from my stash. So I have brought out those pink sequin hearts. I think they came from a Freckle Fawn kit quite a while ago, and they'd not been used at all. So I do end up using all of those on this layout, which is good for my stash bashing that I want to do. So this is now where I mess about with a couple of the squares that came from the cut apart sheet, though I will just end up using that one that says live your dreams, and it will end up where it is now. So I'm just going to mess about again with a few of the acrylic words to see if they work for the title. As much as I do like the sweet on there, I did find it was clashing just a little bit too much with the heart underneath, so that will end up changing. So now I've pulled out the gold thicker sheet, which was added in from my stash, and I'm going to pull in a couple of items from there. So I've got the word together, which I'm going to change for the word sweet when I manage to peel it off without damaging it. And I was looking at the idea of going sweet together. So this is my daughter and her year 6 best friend when we went out for the day. Though I will end up keeping the together, but I will change the title from being Sweet. So I'm just going to mess about with a few of the other die cuts that I've brought in, trying to decorate a few of the squares, though not all of them, otherwise the layout will start to look just a little bit too cluttered for my liking. So I was looking at putting those banners under the photo, but I do much prefer banners coming from near the top, so they end up at the top near where the butterfly is. And now I'm going to pull out these hearts. While I've managed to get one on the layout with that flower at the bottom, I do want to try and get a couple more in there as well. So I'll spread those out where I like all the flowers, and then I'm pulling in some of the die cuts to see what I can get to match up with that so that they look like that's where they belong. I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but I've disappeared for a while. This is where I've decided that the word sweet doesn't match, so I will go through the Heidi swap stickers and I decide to go for cheeky instead. So I've got cheeky together. And that title is quite nice because it's a puffy sticker, so it's got the texture, but it will layer underneath the thicker quite nice, so the title looks as one. So I've decided I do want to keep that card Live Your Dreams up in the top, so I am just going to trim that down to the same size as the others and take out the square that I didn't use. And now I'm pulling out my inks just to see which ink would work out best for inking the edges, and I'm pretty sure I went for a very, very pale pink. I can't remember the name of it now, but I was just checking a few of the other darker pinks first. Sometimes the problem with so much choice is which one do I choose. So there we go. I've now decided that the darker pink isn't quite doing it, and there I've brought out the lighter pink. A few different light pinks, but yeah. So I've had to pinch one of the little sponges from a different one. I have now managed to get sponges for them all, so that will make things a lot easier. But I'll save you the time while I ink everything. So everything's now been inked and stuck down, and that pretty much is the way that my layout is going to end up. I will add a few different finishing touches to finish it off, but most pieces are pretty much where they're going to stay. So I'm just going to pop some string on the tags, and that's just that string that I picked up from the range in the UK. So just a couple of pounds, and that's doing me well for every tag I've come across so far. So we'll go with that. So the heart is just going to overlap just a little bit. I did wonder whether to keep it underneath the photo and keep the heart complete, but I did decide that it looked a little bit better. Oh no, I did decide to keep it with the heart tucked underneath the photo. I thought I chopped it off, but that's a different piece. So the heart connects the picture to the title, and then each other card is pretty much a card on its own. So this bottom one, I will chop off the edge of the flower, and the top one I do there lift up and chop the bottom of the tag off, so that ends up being one in its own. So I'm just going to get everything positioned now how I like it. Try and get the string to stay where I want it to stay. I like my adhesive because it does allow me to pull things up and put things back down again without having to re-stick or tear the paper. So there's that butterfly that I started off with in the top, and then I've decided that it does need a little bit of inking on the pieces I've put on already, so I'm just going to pull those up and give those an ink and pop them back down again. So that is pretty much how the design ends up, apart from the fact that I did decide it needed a little bit of something else. So I've pulled out my Tim Holtz word stickers, and I've just pulled out a few that suit. So I've got Adventure Awaits You, Life is Good, Today is a Good Day, and then the last one is Choose to See the Good Stuff, Live, Create, Tell the Story. So I've pulled out those and mess about with those a couple of different places on this bottom one, and that's where I change it to two smaller ones, That's the life is good, today is a good day. And there we go. That is pretty much how my layout ends up. So I'd like to thank you for joining me today. And if you want to see the other layouts I've created with this kit, please click on the link below. And happy crafting to you all.